Alright, welcome to the Live Your Dreams podcast with Maurice Mckisset, where success leaves clues and someone has your answer. Today we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of success. But before I go into the topic, I just want to say to my son, great job on the audio, the video, the setup. Just amazing. I'm going to love working with you. And it's just going to be amazing when we get to our 52nd episode next year, how advanced we're going to be. But I always like to start with a quote. So I'm going to start off with a quote. If you want to be happy, do not dwell in the past. Do not worry about the future. Focus on living fully in the present. That's by Roy T. Bennett. And that's just a great, great quote. And I love to live my life with quotes. And a lot of people say, hey, Mo, you stay happy, you stay positive. Well, this podcast is going to show you how I do it. And not just how I do it, but how I'm going to help you do it if you continue to like, subscribe, and share. All right? So one of the things I want to do, talk about success. When you talk about success and living your dreams, first and foremost, you want to know, how do you define success? I could define success, but you have to define it for yourself. That was the key to my whole overall living my dreams. I found out what success was for me. For me, success is truly family. Money's good, everything else is good, but family is very important to me. I've been married for 27 years, going 28 years, have 4 beautiful children, take a lot of vacations, spend a lot of quality time. But I really found success when I really defined what I want and why I wanted it. One of the number one reasons why family is so important to me, I'll start with my childhood, with my father. I didn't know my father, which was kind of, regrettable for me, because I truly wish I had a relationship with a father. So trying to be a father was a little different for me because I didn't have that upbringing. So not knowing my father was difficult because I hear stories. My mother and my father were married, and we had an apartment, I believe it was on 51st and East Capitol Street, on the southeast side of East Capitol. East Capitol is a long street. It's a northeast side, southeast side. We were on the southeast side. But once my mother and father got divorced, I was still a baby. My mother moved maybe 3 blocks to the left, which was 47th Street. My grandmother lived right in the middle. All this is a 3-block radius, which is so weird. They lived on 51st. My grandmother lived on Harris Place, and then we moved on 47th Street. That's where I grew up at. What was so weird about that, not knowing my father, is I do have one memory of seeing him once. I remember we were at my grandmother's house, where you could say I grew up at, on Harris Place. He pulled up in a station wagon. Everybody had station wagons back then. So he pulled up in a station wagon. I never forget, he pulled down the trunk, and we sat out there, my brother and I, drinking, some juice. And we felt so proud because, everyone was staring like, who's that? And we were like, hey, our father. And it was just a really remarkable day for us, where we really thought we were on top of the world. That's the only time I remember seeing my father. When I was 12, he passed away. And I remember we traveled to Rocky Mountain. I was so devastated. I didn't even go inside the funeral. I was a little taken aback by it. I mean, I was devastated because first I didn't know him. And secondly, I had a traumatic experience with funerals, so I really didn't go into funerals at that time. But that's my why. My family, I wanted to be a father where every day I could come home to someone who loved me. Every day I can have children who really respected me, because I didn't have that growing up. And I never wanted to have someone feel that pain I felt of not having a father, or someone not coming to see you, or whatever it may be. I didn't want no one to have that pain. So that's my why. You have to figure out the why for you, because again, success or living your dreams is really based off of you. It's no prediction, or I can't say, hey, success is this, success is that. It's not. It's really based off what you want. That's what success is. Now, we look at this thing. We say the podcast I'm doing. The reason I'm doing this podcast is based off my living my dreams with my family. Something, first and foremost, I can do with my son. Secondly, one thing I've always learned, you can have an idea. An idea is worth a penny. But if you know how to execute your idea, it could be worth millions. Now, I'm no financial advisor or anything like that. I'm not telling anyone you're going to be a millionaire if you start a podcast. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that you have to have that skill set to execute your ideas. Now, this podcast is probably not going to be the best podcast we ever do, but we have to start somewhere. Even though this podcast may be rough, the first one, we're starting. We're starting the process. And that's success. That's living your dreams, being able to execute your ideas. Even if you don't have all the answers, we'll develop the answers. I already told you, our 52nd episode is going to be way better than the first one. But we have to start the first one. We have to get that rough one out the way in order for the second one to be even better. So that's the key. An idea is worth a penny, but execution of that idea is worth $1 million. One of the things on how I, been able to live my dreams, I had plenty of mentors. I'm not self-made. I had so many mentors throughout the years, so many. But one I'll talk about now, Tia's dad, Tom, is probably the best mentor I ever had. I never forget when we first spent some quality time together. We took a road trip. Tia and I and her parents, we went up to West Virginia. And I never forget on the way there, we were just talking and talking. That's when I first got married, I was big into Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar. I mean, I would listen to these guys for hours trying to change my life. So Tom was a big self-help individual also. So we started talking about faith. And I mean, this whole ride up and down, we were talking about nothing but success. So Tom was into sales. So I said, Tom, hey, can you teach me sales? He said, not only can I teach you, but I'll show you. He said, it'll be like the second coming. So we went to, back then we had a mall, Landover Mall. So we went to Landover Mall. I'll never forget it. It was just like yesterday. So Tom said, look, I'm going to show you how you do this. So Tom went to talk to this young lady. He didn't know her, which was so weird. He didn't know her. He just went to her and said, hey, would you like to save and accumulate money? And I told him, like, come on, man, you can't just go talk to people. So what was so weird, the young lady said yes. And Tom got her information, followed up with her. And from there on, I understood sales, which was nothing more than the law of averages. Tom said, hey, if you stand in front of the mall and ask enough people, somebody's going to say yes. It's just the law of averages. So Tom was huge into sales. In insurance, he was the greatest insurance salesman in the world. One of the things that he showed me, he said, okay, Maurice, this is how you do it. This is how you're going to become successful. Because I had no idea. He said, first and foremost, you got to know what you want. And he said, why don't you start here since you don't know? Because I did not know. I thought success was just getting you a nice apartment, get an escort. Back then, that's what it was. You get one of those, you're successful. That's what I thought. But years later, I mean, that's, to me, is something I said, wow, I can't believe I thought that. But one of the things he said, let's start at a point like this. He said, okay, the top 10% money earners in this country make $100,000. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what my mentor told me. And again, this was over 20 years ago. I looked at the Census Bureau today. I believe it's like 200,000 now. But he said, okay, you want to make $100,000. He said, if you're in the top 10%, you pretty much do, be, and have whatever you want to be. And he said, okay, you want to accumulate money, you want to have $1 million. He said, hey, if you get $1 million, you'll be able to be whatever you want to be. So that was a goal he set for me. He said, hey, you do this, this is how you do it. So that's one of the things I hear so many people say, I want the bag or whatever it may be, but you have to know what that bag consists of. If it's the top 10%, if it's the top 1%, whatever it is, you want to know where you want to land on this spectrum called income. You want to know where you want to land on this spectrum called accumulating wealth. Okay? Because there's so many in between. And you have to know what's good for you. Because what's good for me may not be good for you. Or what's good for me may not be good. You may say, hey, that's nothing. So again, you have to know what it does for you. Again, money is very important. But for me, the number one thing that was family. My wife was fortunate enough not to work outside the home, our whole marriage. So again, she had the time to spend with our children. That was important to me because I know growing up in Southeast, some of the things I got into, and I didn't want my children to have to get into that. So that was success for me. But again, that could be different from you. So you have to know what it is for you. Second thing, Get the life insurance. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor. But again, I went to too many funerals. And again, I already told you I had a traumatic experience. I went to too many funerals where we did have to do a GoFundMe account, or we had to come up with collections. Tom showed me, hey, there are policies you get out there for, you get $1 million worth of insurance. What that does, it rents income with you. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. But again, look at it this way. It rents income, or it rents, I would say, peace of mind if something was to happen to you. And again, I went to too many funerals where we did GoFundMes or whatever it may be. But by having insurance, if something was to happen to you, you would have an actual, some type of peace of mind for your family. The second thing was my 401k. My 401k, and again, this is basic. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you how I did it. I had, back when in my 20s, this was a long time ago, I used to run grocery stores, believe it or not. But there was a store manager that came in. He knew I was a new store manager, like a meet and greet. He said, hey, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you how you changed my life. This guy was about to retire. He was going to retire a millionaire. And he said, hey, this is the secret, you want to do. Open the 401k, put 10% of your money in it, and you do it for 10 years, you'll change your life. I didn't have another idea. I did it, and it changed my life. The reason being, because again, with my 401k, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. With my 401k, I was able to borrow from it to open businesses and do other things. Because again, Tom, one of the things he showed me, just had multiple streams of income. Okay? And again, this episode, we won't be talking about investing in stocks or real estate or anything like that, because I'm not a financial advisor. Only thing I'll share with these podcasts is what I have done to live my dreams. And again, my dreams is not your dreams. You have to have your own dream. One of the things about the 401k that benefited me, Tom showed me compound interest and how it works. So if you don't have a 401k, no matter how you earn your income, whether you're self-employed, entrepreneur, there's so many investment strategies that you can do, that you can set yourself up, that you can do other things. And that's where the true success comes from. Because again, depending on one stream can put you in a situation that you really don't want to be in. And you want to make sure, again, that you have that peace of mind. My success, when you talk about a positive attitude, one thing I look at is that I'm successful every day. This is how I did it. You got to think, I had so many mentors. And today I'm just talking about Tom. One thing that Tom would do for me, 5:30 in the morning, he would call me. And he would call and say, hey, Maurice, what's going on? And I knew he would call me, so I would wake up. He said, Maurice, what's going on? I said, hey, Tom, what's going on? He said, hey, I'm just calling because I just wanted to talk to an eagle this morning. And I wanted to tell you that today is going to be an amazing day. Now, if somebody call you like that every day, you can't help but to be positive. Because, again, they're actually feeding into you. And when he would do that, he would say, hey, even if you go out with the chickens at night, you want to wake up with the eagles in the morning. And every day he would do this. And I mean, before you know it, it's like I can't even sleep late. I feel bad if I sleep past, especially 6:30. I'll feel bad if I sleep that. Because again, I've been trained, I've been programmed to actually feel good when you wake up in the morning. Every day is a great day. One thing, I'll tell a quick story with Jim Rohn as I wrap up. Jim Rohn told this story. He said, it was this Texas preacher in the South. He said that he was an evangelist and he set up his tent. He would always set up his tent. And when he would set up his tent, he would, have a great crowd. He said, so the event was going to start at 8. So at 7:30, nobody was there. At 7:45, nobody was there. 8 o'clock, nobody was there. But he said at 8:15, one cowboy came in. And he said, wow, this is unheard of. I'm thinking the place would be packed. So he goes out to the cowboy and say, hey, I thought this place would be packed. I'm sorry, you're the only one here. So the cowboy said, hey, I am the only one here, but I'm not a preacher, so I couldn't tell you what to do. But I know if I had a cattle and only one of them showed up, I would feed it. So the preacher was inspired. He jumped up on stage, started, really letting them have it. Just going into the message and going and going and going. So at the end, he jumped down, went to the cowboy and said, "Hey, cowboy, what did you think about my message?" He said, "Wow." He said, "If I had cattle and only one of them showed up, I wouldn't give them the whole load. So I'm not going to give you the whole load." I really wanted to get this first podcast out to get everybody thinking, what is your goal? What is your idea of living your dreams? What is your idea of being successful? Because I know you can be successful because I did it. I'll close with a quote also. This one is a good one. Let me tell you this. It was, and I know you're going to tell me who said this one. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. That was Maya Angelou. Remember that as you go throughout your week. Inspire someone. Make someone feel great. And as always, you should support that which support you. So if you like the podcast, our first one, subscribe, like, share. Okay, and I promise we will work hard to make these better and better as we go on. And always, I'll see you, and yes, I do mean you, living your dreams. Thank you. Peace.